Bob Lord was one of the most controversial figures in English football from the mid-1950s until his early death aged 73 in December 1981. Lord built a huge meat empire, serving thousands of customers across the northwest. He was elected chairman at Burnley in 1955 and served until 1981. He was president of the Lancashire Football Association and also Lower House Cricket Club, and nationally he was acting president of the Football League and chairman of the Football Association Challenge Cup Committee, the FA Cup. Robert William Lord was born on the 19th of June 1908, the youngest son of Fred and Laura Lord. Fred Lord was a hairdresser and the family lived in Parliament Street in Burnley. A Burnley supporter from an early age, when Lord left school he became a butcher's apprentice. After falling out with his boss, Lord set up on his own, hawking meat around the streets of Burnley with a horse and cart. After a year working on his own, with his profits he went back to his old boss, Herbert Brown, and bought the business. Lord's first shop, 93 Colclough Lane, is still open as a butcher's in 2019. In 1931, Bob married Hilda Crossley at St Matthew's Church, and later, in 1940, became a Freemason. During the Second World War, Lord's business grew, and the business took on contracts for industrial canteens, schools, hospitals, and municipal restaurants. With a growing business and more staff, Lord managed to find more time to watch his beloved Burnley FC, who in 1947, under Cliff Britton, gained promotion to the First Division and also reached the FA Cup final at Wembley.
The way it turned out. Burnley's half-back line, with skipper Alan Brown outstanding, holds fast against all Charlton's attacks. Now watch Burnley's Jackie Chew, number 7, break away, but left-back Shreve, number 3, is there to tackle him. The ball goes upfield to Chris Duffy, number 11, Charlton outside left. And here he is in a neat little ballet number with Burnley back, Arthur Woodruff.
By 1951, Lord was elected onto the Burnley board, and in 1955 was instrumental in buying Home Farm on the Gawthorpe estate and building one of the first dedicated football training facilities in England. After 4 years as a director, in June 1955 Lord became chairman, and one of his first signings was Harry Potts as Burnley's new manager. With Harry Potts in charge, Burnley's fortunes rose. The team, including captain Jimmy Adamson and inside right Jimmy McIlroy, played brilliant football, and in 1959-60 Burnley won the Football League on their last game of the season with victory over Manchester City at Main Road. That summer Burnley played in the USA, and the following season, as champions, were the English representatives in the European Cup.
Is it really going to be the final of the century? That is the question on the lips of the 100,000 enthusiasts packing Wembley Stadium.
(1962), and one of Lord's proudest moments was to see his Burnley side take on Tottenham Hotspur in the FA Cup final at Wembley. Lord is shown on the film taking up his seat in the royal box, greeting Her Majesty.
Upon football's biggest occasion, the seal is set by the arrival of Her Majesty. A cherry red ensemble very much taking the eye. Now these two great teams come onto the field in a calm, almost formal way, which is part of cup final.
Burnley lost to Tottenham 3-1, and after the match, the dinner was held at the Café Royal, where Lord invited Fulham chairman Tommy Trinder and former Burnley manager Cliff Britton. The team came home to a great reception by Burnley fans, and local filmmaker Sam Hanna was on hand to record the occasion.
Enthusiastic welcome. A great crowd of people gathered outside the town hall to see the team welcomed by the mayor and members of the town council. Many sporting celebrities were present at the reception in the town hall, following which the team made a triumphal tour of the town and called at the Burnley hospitals.
February 1963, and the fans' favourite Jimmy McIlroy is sold unexpectedly to Stoke City. Burnley supporters are bewildered and to this day are puzzled as to why Lord sold Burnley's most talented international footballer. Through the 1960s, Burnley continued to develop their own young talent at Gawthorpe and were rewarded winning the Lancashire Senior Cup and Central League in 1963. In 1965-6 season, Burnley finished third and were rewarded with a place in the Intercity Fairs Cup competition, nowadays called the Europa League. As the 1960s drew to a close, Burnley struggled and in 1971 were relegated to Division 2. 2 years later, Bob Lord, now a member of the Football League Management Committee, managed to get Burnley on the inaugural League Liner train, taking supporters to their away match at Queen's Park Rangers as the Clarets fought for promotion.
Gaming and games rooms. And Nosh, served by volunteer waiters. Bobby Driver, supporter for 52 years, still stands by Lancashire Tripe, as well as Burnley football team.
That's not really a drive, is it? Sure it's drive. What do you think it is?
It's still up to now, it's going all right. A bit rocky up to Crewe, but because I was driving the train.
At the end of the 1972-3 season, Burnley were promoted back to Division 1 as champions, as Lancashire clubs took all 4 divisional titles that summer. In the summer, Bob Lord was 65 years old and retired from his butchery business, the whole business lock, stock and barrel going under the auctioneer's hammer. At the start of the new season, Burnley played Manchester City for the Charity Shield and beat City 1-0 at Main Road to take the trophy. Back in Division 1, Burnley began the season well, but by mid-December, the Conservative government, in conflict with the miners, had implemented the 3-day week. From January 1974, electricity was limited to 3 consecutive days a week. Football was played on a Sunday, and Bob Lord was asked for his thoughts on the matter.
It's against the way of life to Englishmen, in my belief. I think the average Englishman considers Sunday a day of rest where he just wants to do what he wants and possibly be with his family more than what he does any other of the 6 days of the week.
After a good first season back in League Division 1, by March 1974, Burnley had reached the semi-finals of the FA Cup. The match was played at Hillsborough, but sadly the Clarets lost 2-0 to Newcastle United. As reward for a good first season back in Division 1, Bob Lord took the Burnley players and backroom staff on a Caribbean tour aboard the QE2 for the summer holidays. Back from their summer holidays, it was time to open the new stand. The directors had named it after Bob Lord himself, and as special honorary guest for the occasion, it was Edward Heath, now leader of Her Majesty's opposition, who performed the honours. The 1975-6 season saw Burnley struggle on the field. Attendances fell. Injuries, performances, all led to Burnley's downfall. Jimmy Adamson left the club in January 1976, and at the end of the season, Burnley were relegated once again to Division 2. In the second half of the 1970s, Lord became more involved in both the Football League and the Football Association. Both he and Hilda officiated at the League Cup final, and was a regular official at the FA Cup final. Sadly, Burnley's fortunes faded, and in 1980 the club were relegated to the third division for the first time in their history. Despite fan protests over Burnley's relegation, Lord remained as chairman, but in mid-1981 Bob Lord discovered he had cancer. His last official engagement for the Football Association was at the 1981 FA Cup final at Wembley. Bob Lord passed away on the 8th of December 1981. He was 73. A great many officials, footballers, journalists and people who had known Lord from the world of football attended his funeral at the tiny churchyard in Reed. Opinions on Lord remained divided. Some people called him a tyrant, and others that he was a fair man. He was highly thought of by many in the world of football, an innovator who only wanted the best for the game and didn't suffer fools. First and foremost, Bob Lord was an ardent Burnley supporter, and woe betide anyone who dared question that.